So, I have my stance, okay? Right? And most people are thinking about my stance that if my whole body moves past, I have now crossed the range threshold to hit you, right? Versus each leg separately has their own range threshold to hit you. I can't hit you here, but if my toe goes barely past this, all of a sudden now I can hit you. So I don't even need to move my back foot. I only need my front foot to even be able to steal range and hit you, right? Or if my back foot goes to here, now the same thing can happen, and I can also still hit you. So most people, when they're thinking about range, they're thinking about the fighter's range as a whole. They're not thinking about his individual feet or his individual limbs. Another way is if my sword grip is here, if I push my grip past the threshold, now I can also hit again, right? So most people, when they're fighting, they're not paying attention to the individual feet and the individual grip for the range changes. So these are really important that we need to pay attention to, because these are two separate lines that are constantly moving. Or if I had like a little laser beam over my head, right, that showed my range, I would actually need one for my front foot and one for my back foot. And if we could make a little detection thing where it went off for you as soon as this passed that red threshold, then it would beep, then you would know you were in range, right? But it's very easy to sneak measure because I could throw a cut like this that makes you look at it and then sneak that back foot up, and then they don't understand that the range has changed. So what Tora does a lot of is he just steps that front foot forward to get that little bit of range, and as soon as it lands, he springs and pops. Which is what we call a critical step, because it's a critical range change. Now, if you fight Brandon, what Brandon does is he sneaks his back foot up along. So anytime that you can change these and blur and confuse these lines, the better. So now when we talk about our grand pass, right, if we talk about my lunge can either be based off my back foot, which is here, or it can also be based off my front foot, which is here. Then when I take a grand pass, this line moved all the way up here, right? So the more that you can sneak in these little changes, right, where if I make it look like I'm in a passing step, you do a big motion, instead I pass cancel, I just go here, right? Then I critical step, get to here to recover that distance that the pass normally would have, and then lunge. Now they're all confused up in their tempos. So what's important is we want to be able to recognize all of those different ranges that are changing. Now, one reason the left foot forward stuff is so good and it tricks people is because they're just not used to people being able to take this entire pass, right? But it has a lot of costs, which we will also go over. So the more that you can do normal footwork and then all of a sudden just go into a grand pass, or even just a back foot retreat or just a front foot retreat, just to always constantly confuse them on range. Sometimes I'll do specific footwork literally just to confuse them on range, right? Or ones like we have the crescent switch. So right now, okay, I can't touch you, right? I'm barely shy of touching you, okay? Because my right shoulder is farther back than my left shoulder because my left hip is forward, okay? If I were to put my right foot exactly at the same spot as my left foot, now all of a sudden I can touch you, right? Because this is closer. So we do one type of footwork where when we have our left foot forward, we just switch our feet real quick, and now we can hit them. This jump also will usually cause someone to retreat, okay? Now, in the small mind, we could think about this in the sense that I could switch my feet and then hit, but someone would be like, well, if you switch their feet, what if they just retreat, right? But if I switch my feet back here and I have that range threshold that I need to pass, okay, I can switch my feet and then critical lunge and have gained that extra inch from this foot switch that allowed it where this foot didn't need to step up as far as this one would have. And that is enough. Like, that's enough to trick people and kill them. Literally like an inch. If you can deceive an inch, then you're real good to go. So whenever you're dancing, you just want to think about, like, how can you mess up their footwork or mess up their spacing. So when you're fighting someone and you're like normal or here, you know, you just throw in that grand pass, you'll see real quick they didn't retreat far enough. The biggest thing for you is just going to be able to recognize that that's your trigger to attack. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. If you've stolen measure and they don't know, that is a real good time to hit them.